the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 339 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, how's it going?
Oh, it's going. It's going.
It's going.
We're not light on news this week. We're coming off of an entertaining Talladega.
Yeah. Well, we are light on news, but light news item will take up a lot of time.
Yeah.
If everybody hasn't already beaten it to death in the last 5 days.
I guess it's up to our interpretation on what's light for news. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Are we light on news if we have one topic that encompasses a 45-minute conversation?
if it's the biggest story in the sport in probably maybe its entire history.
Biggest story since I don't know when.
Definitely since 2001.
Yeah. Since 2020's pandemic?
Yeah,
maybe?
probably. Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Jeez. I guess. Well, we're not going to talk about IndyCar's news, but they've got news.
Yeah, they got
news. Is it bigger than that news?
It's bigger than IndyCar's news, yeah.
Yeah. IndyCar is unfortunately not a blip on my radar these days.
Yeah,
very infrequently.
They're back on that downswing, unfortunately, but I want to see them succeed, but I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes the what is the saying that it's always darkest before the dawn?
Yeah,
maybe that's where we're at.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? We'll find out.
Well, let's talk about my favorite race of the year. I say that pre Talladega, not post Talladega necessarily, but I always look forward to Talladega. I would argue it's my favorite racetrack. As you know, I named the podcast the Super Speedway in part because my favorite track is Talladega Super Speedway. And there's nothing better than Talladega Super Speedway in the playoffs. So we got to do it this weekend, the YellaWood 500 at Talladega. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. plays spoiler.
How about that?
Another spoiler in the playoffs.
After I tweeted out, there's nothing more scary than the 47 and the 1 at the front of the field at Talladega.
Right.
47 ended up there.
Yeah. I mean, it helped that he was racing like 3 other cars at the end, but still, I mean, he was there the whole race, right? This wasn't a fluke for him to win this race.
He was leading early and often.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, legit win for Ricky. And I mean, it goes to show, this has been beaten. This is like a horse that's been beaten to beyond death. But what do they always say about luck at these super speedways? Anybody can win a super speedway.
Yeah.
But at the end of that race, you had Brad Keselowski and Ricky Stenhouse, and
right.
I mean, again, 2 guys who seem to find their way to the front of the field more often than not.
And not even that though, James. And I struggle with this, and I know that Steve Letarte was on a soapbox this week about it too.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the end of the race. It was throughout the race. The guys at the front of the field were still the guys that you expect to be at the front of the field of these races. They're still good super speedway racers.
Well, and not to mention the Daytona 500 champion, was right there with them.
Yeah.
In the mix, and William Byron. So, it's been it's just such a strange. I don't know. I don't know what you thought, Eric. Maybe we can start here.
I don't know what I thought either, James. I'm struggling with this race because so here's the thing.
It was still a good race.
If I was there in person or watching on TV and just watching on TV, not paying attention to any Twitter, not looking at any of that stuff, this was an excellent race. It was fun to watch. It was a spectacle. 4 wide, multiple rows around this place was incredible. The problem is if you do know what's going on and you do pay attention to Twitter and you do listen to people talk after the race, you realize that the reason it was like that is because they weren't actually racing.
Yeah, they were sitting pretty, right?
Yeah. So it's like, it's a cool photo op. And I don't know. I don't know, James, because I enjoy it, but I want them to race, and I get that it's hard to pass. And I think one thing that you really see, if you really, from an uneducated standpoint, if you want to come into it without having to dig into all this stuff, all you got to do with this current package is look at the field. If they are 3 wide and 4 wide, they are saving fuel. And if they are 2 wide, they're racing. Because when they start racing, they can't run 3 and 4 wide.
There was a moment where they were 4 wide, where there was 20 to go in the stage, and I thought maybe they're getting after it a little bit, but even still, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Well,
and we saw at the end of the race what happens if you try to make a move, because Kyle Busch dropped freaking anchor.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's some funny memes going on about that. Kyle Busch jumping up there and everybody looking at him like, huh? What are you doing?
But we also long for this Talladega of old. And I don't know. I think we've glorified what we used to have, too.
It's never been perfect.
No.
I think that's the thing. It's perfectly imperfect.
The closest it's ever been to perfect was, in my opinion, was the 2000-2001 package with the wicker bill and all that stuff. And then we kind of got away from it. Then we kind of went back to it. And then we kind of put it on the Xfinity cars and kept it off the Cup cars. And then we got tandem, and then we got all this other stuff. And we've been trying to fix it ever since. But even then, like, we envision that it was racing like this and people were, but it wasn't a pack of 30 cars or 40 cars. It was a pack of 12, 15 cars. When Earnhardt made his big move in his final win that everybody makes this huge deal out of, it really was, I mean, it was amazing, but it wasn't really the thing that everybody's glorified it to be. You know what I mean?
Well, he wasn't shoving his way through 4 wide, 3 wide.
Exactly.
He was manipulating the air. I mean, it's amazing.
Right. They didn't run like they're doing now at all. There was more separation. It just was completely different.
They weren't bump drafting back then either.
No, exactly. Now. Which is, I think, one of the biggest things. And I think I blame Dale Jr. and his era for that, because they're the ones who started what we called slam drafting back in the day. They're the ones who really started. They stopped lifting when they bump draft.
Well, and then we got into the COT, which was basically, for a period of time, there was like a belt buckle. They would just clasp together and go around the track. So
I will argue, though, James, that, and I'm sorry to step on you here and
go
not
ahead,
give you a chance to talk, but I will argue, and I've made this argument many times, that NASCAR, or we keep as a group saying, the next gen car is awesome on 1.5 miles, but the next gen car is not good on short tracks. It's not good on super speedways. What can we do to this car to make it better all the time? Just make it all around a great race car and race well. And it frustrates me because it's right there every weekend, almost every weekend, the day before the Cup race.
Yeah.
We have the perfect package.
We have a really good race car, and we just need to slap some horsepower in it and go.
Honestly, I don't know. I think we could run the Xfinity cars with the horsepower they have with Cup drivers in them, and I think it'd be a better show. Period.
It probably would be. Yeah.
I just think that car is perfect, or as close to perfect as we can get.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, how many years have they had with that car now?
Exactly, but that's the thing.
But this car,
if we were still running the Twisted Sister, it'd probably be even better.
Oh yeah, this car is just never. I don't know if this car is ever going to get there.
Yeah,
it's just been. I mean,
it's not going to get there without horsepower, period.
It's one thing after another. Yeah, it's compounding over time, and we've got rules now that we'll talk about a few of them.
And that's the thing. I don't really want to crap on the racing, because we're going to crap on enough tonight.
Yeah, I don't, and that's the thing. Like, the racing. Listen, man,
it was fine.
Talladega, give me that Talladega over a lot of things. Like, I texted you before the race. And I said, if I'm never not excited about Talladega, put me down.
Oh, 100%.
Just put me down.
And I would rather watch them ride at 1/3 throttle, 4 wide, than watch them run 3/4 throttle, single file, running the high line, which is what they used to do.
Yeah. It's just, even at its most watered down form, it almost really is the purest form of NASCAR racing.
Yeah.
When you go to Talladega and Daytona, it's what you see on the big TV, when you're thinking about like the history of the sport. You always are like, oh, Daytona, Talladega, like those are places, man. They're important to the history of the sport. And it's, again, it's tough to see this where we're at right now. with the saving of the fuel and the
Right.
stages. And we've beat this again. This is stuff we've talked about many, many times. Like, you know, do we just get rid of the stages? Have they run their course? Teams
I
seem to
don't
have them all.
think it makes a difference because you're still going to have to save fuel until the end of the race.
These teams have it mapped out now. There's two. We're at the data overload era. You know, we know too much, and I mean, we even know to the fact that at the end of the race, we had a little bit of controversy because Kyle Larson's spotter said, "Don't push the 6."
Oh, it's on my
and
list.
We had to look at the data to say, well, he never let off the throttle, so I guess I don't know what you want him to do. I mean, it's
hold on.
Too much.
Since you brought it up, I was going to say.
Go ahead, let's go.
Since you brought it up, I'm going to play some audio for you. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's good.
Here we go.
Keep your push here. Keep your push. Keep your push here. Keep pushed up here. Don't push him to the window. Stay off of him. Stay off of him. Stay off of him. Checker flag. Good work. D4. Good job today, guys. Did the who won? 6 for 47.
Way to be smart there at the end. Great job, Tyler.
Who won? 47.
That's Kyle Larson's audio at the end of the race. I have problems with this, James.
This is where we're going to start with problems.
I have serious problems with this. I would like to ask you, as a Kyle Larson fan,
I like Kyle Larson. Yeah, he's all right.
how is this different than Richmond and Clint Boyer?
Ooh, that's pretty good. I'm just gonna go back to what I saw from the SMT and say he never lifted or hit the brake. So,
but you just heard the discussion, right?
I did hear the discussion. I also heard the end.
Who won? Where he's asking who won, because he wants to make sure that he didn't push the guy to the win.
Well, I think knowing this is just me theorizing, armchair quarterback. I think he wanted to say, I was still pushing. Who won the race?
I don't. Well, and then I will say again also, what's different other than the fact that he didn't wreck anybody? What's different than what the spotter of Austin Dillon said at Richmond?
Let me say this to that. I'll say this to that. It didn't matter what Chevy was in that spot. This problem is manufacturer driven.
Mm-hmm.
We've got
100%.
Manufacturer partnerships that continue to, I don't know why, I don't know how we got here or why. I want to blame Toyota for that one Daytona 500.
No, you know who I think it was?
Who's that? Who was it?
It was SHR did this first. Did they not?
Well, they did it in qualifying. Remember that?
Yeah.
At Talladega.
But I feel like SHR was the first one to come with a plan.
You might be right. I think it was those 4 SHR cars, and then the following season, the Toyota. Remember the Toyotas had a master plan?
Yep.
And then they screwed the pooch.
Yep. Which has happened
But
many times.
They're all pitting together. They're all.
I don't even have a problem with the pitting together because you've always pitted together. You've always pitted with your running mate.
With your teammates, yeah.
Is this not race manipulation? Whether this is he's giving whether he did it or not, he was given the direction to manipulate the race.
I understand. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it's first and foremost, the spotters are. I mean, that's stupid to even talk about on the radio.
Yeah, why would you say it on the radio?
Everybody can hear you on the radio.
Yep.
You know that.
Yep.
But I also know at the end of the race that Larson and Brad had a joyful conversation, and I'm pretty sure Brad didn't say, "Hey man, you didn't push me hard enough."
I mean, Brad.
I
did get this video from Brad's Twitter though, where he retweeted it.
He did, yeah. And he's trying to make a point. Brad is trying to make a point about the OEMs, though.
Yeah,
that's his overall. I don't think Brad thinks he wasn't pushed. I think he thinks.
Well, and I don't think Brad. I mean, I don't think Kyle Larson is at fault here.
It's the way the system is.
But how do you stop it? I can think of a good way to stop it.
we have the data in front of us. I mean, we can all say, "Oh, we know what you did here." That's what happened with the Austin Dillon case, right?
So if we want to stop it, we slap a penalty, right?
You would, yeah, you'd have to start slapping penalties on people. But I don't know how. Again,
I
nature of the
think it's
beast. I don't
pretty
know how.
clear. I think there's enough evidence here, just in the spotter audio alone, to penalize. I don't think they will, but I think there's enough there.
The penalty for this situation, I would be okay with them telling the spotter, "Hey, 5 weeks, go home." I honestly
Yeah.
That's where I was with it, and if it keeps up, then you gotta just start dropping the hammer.
Yeah.
That's with you. That's where I, kind of mean, I guess initially. This is a tough one. This is a tough one because
I think you take some owner points away. You discourage this from anybody else.
You could do that too. Again, I'm not gonna. It's hard, man, because you can't. Whatever side, being on, you can't defend any of it.
Right.
There's no defense of Larson or anybody else who's in that position. You can look at the data and say, yeah, he was fine, but
Yeah, and I mean, you can listen to the audio. You don't hear him feather the throttle until after.
No, he's on the throttle,
But
and he doesn't hit the
still,
brake either.
This bothered
I
me.
understand.
This bothered me more than any of the stuff we're going to talk about from this race, and I was bothered a lot by a lot of this stuff.
I
But
tell you
this
what,
really bothered
and
me.
I'm glad you said that it bothered you so badly, because when I first listened to it and first was kind of reading through it,
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, that doesn't pass the smell test. Right off the bat, my first instinct is always that doesn't pass the smell test. What happened there?
Right.
And you have to look at it as a case by case basis, I guess, and say, oh, well, looks like he stayed on the throttle the whole way. He didn't hit the brake. He was pushing. What do you do? He didn't pull out to try to win the race either. So,
Right.
Is that not giving? We always say what's 100% effort?
Well, and I mean,
William Byron.
You want to say race manipulation? Everything that you do in the last 2 laps of this
Well,
race is
yeah,
race
that's right. I
manipulation.
mean, you have on the opposite side, if you want to get into in the deep weeds of this, at the end of the race, William Byron jumps to the high side to try to make a pass. Kyle Larson stays in line.
Right.
So it's is Kyle Larson trying to win the race, or is he just sitting there? You know what I mean? Of course they're all trying to win the race. You can nitpick it all the way down to, bare bones, but it doesn't change the outcome of the race.
I feel like NASCAR
that this sucks.
set a precedent at Richmond about spotter audio that there should be at least a penalty there, but I don't think there'll be anything. I don't think we'll see a peep about this.
If I were Richard Childress, I would make that phone call.
Yeah.
I would make that phone call.
Yep.
And just say, hey, what's the deal here?
Yeah.
But then again, he's a Chevy owner, so
Exactly.
so what do you do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now Chevy's pissed at you.
And and this all would have been not an issue if Brad would have done the right thing and frickin' jumped into the high line off of 4. It took the lead.
Yeah, but I heard Brad talk about it and I heard TJ talk about it, and that's not what would have happened.
He would have got jumped.
As soon as he went up there, Stenhouse is making a move and Brad's wrecked. That's what's going to happen.
Brad was relying on a stronger push from the bottom that just was not quite enough.
Yeah, because there was a Chevrolet behind him.
Yeah, a stack full of Chevys behind him. And Brad had the arrow advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that too. So both the RFK cars missing the new shark fin on the roof after the race.
Of all of Denny Hamlin's ranting and raving on his podcast this week, that one was probably my favorite.
Yeah, that one was pretty good.
The 6 and the 17. What's going on there?
Yeah. I mean, it is convenient that the 2 cars from the same team are missing them.
How did that... Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So the audio we can dissect a couple of days later, right? We can...
Right.
You can't really police that right at the moment. How do those race cars get through post-race like that? Were they just not even looking at them?
With those and with a giant hole in the driver's side door? We can talk about that one too.
What was going on? Well, again,
It's another
boy,
officiating issue.
NASCAR had a rough go of it. Yeah, because technically, right, the 47 should have had to pit.
Yeah, he should have had to replace it.
Because because you can't be on the racetrack without the foam.
Right. Door foam has to be in the car.
But Eric, let me ask
but they
you this.
missed it, James. They didn't notice it.
Let me ask you this. So since we're doing all of this, let's go all the way. Let's go all the way in here.
If you guys haven't figured this out at this point, if you're on here listening, hoping to listen to us praise NASCAR for their rules, this is not going to be the week.
It's not the week.
Just tune out. Come back next week.
Yeah. So let's go back to the 28 car pileup.
Yeah. 28 cars, most in NASCAR Cup Series history, James.
And we have the very lauded DVP going on, and all of these drivers and these teams, they're screaming. I mean, Chase Briscoe's getting yelled at, do not get out of that race car, bite their hand if you have to.
Yeah, Josh Berry's saying that the 42's effing doing donuts back there, spraying everybody with debris.
Man, I don't know. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows the damaged vehicle policy is a mess right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Has NASCAR been bullied into submission that they are so afraid to make a call that they have the fans been given too much power? That's my question.
You want to know why I think this was an issue this week? I'll give you the honest. So here's the two things that we're discussing here. One, we're discussing, or I guess three things, is whether the car's out of the race when it's involved in an accident and can't roll on its own, whether it can be towed back to pit road and worked on, and then also the issue of we went back to caution and allowed drivers to work on their cars on pit road because we were under caution while the field didn't roll for like a couple more minutes on the backstretch, giving them an advantage there. My thought as to why this happened, James, and yes, I do agree. I do think that NASCAR has taken such a beating from everybody that they can't make a right decision. But I think a lot of this had to do with the fact that coming off of turn 4 to the caution flag, there were 3 cars on the racetrack. And NASCAR's like, we need to let some cars back in this race or we're not going to have a race for the green, white checker.
Right.
So I think it was a matter of, let's get as many cars back on the lead lap and out on the track as we can to make this finish look decent without having a 3-car race that nothing happens.
And I think too, it's compounded by what happened to Josh Berry.
Oh yeah.
Kansas.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they know they messed that one up.
Except they specifically said in the days after that we know we messed up. We know the rule is stupid, but it's the rule and we're going to stick with it. And we'll look at it in the off season. And then the very next chance they had, they did something different.
Well, and going back even further, we had Blaney at Watkins Glen, which kind of started this conversation, even though by the rule of the law or whatever it is, Blaney was technically out of the race.
Blaney's wrong in that one. I'm sorry.
Right,
Blaney is wrong. Josh Berry was in the right.
Now, I texted you this during the race because Daniel Suarez, obviously, he had to do the pass-through penalty right at the start. He had unapproved adjustments and
I want to talk about that in a minute too. So let's not forget about that. I want to go back to that.
Well, so he tries to blend in and he causes a wreck, right? Stage 1.
Bonehead move of the year, by the way.
Bonehead move of the year, but he's stuck in the grass.
Yep.
And I texted you, he's out.
Right.
He should be out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just jokingly, like he should be out. No, I got a push and got unstuck.
To be fair, the difference, in my opinion, there is he got a push, and then the car could go on its own.
Correct. I agree.
He never got towed. He never got. But the cars in the wreck were actually towed to pit road.
Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe,
yes,
a bunch of other guys all got towed back to get worked on, and that right there is the contradiction.
Right.
To everything.
I really hope that in the off season we just get rid of the DVP.
We have to. It's too far gone now. You gotta let the teams work on the cars.
I would have thought that this would have gone away way back in the first season that we had it, when Matt Kenseth had too many men over the wall working on his car and got eliminated from the playoffs as a result.
Yeah.
But somehow it survived this long.
Yeah, we've lost our way. We're at the point we're at with the DVP is the same point we were at when we had stage qualifying, and it was a just absolute disaster.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's 100% the same thing.
Yeah, we just these teams, and NASCAR, for whatever reason, there becomes a point of demarcation, and we are there. This rule needs to change.
And I will say here, I will give NASCAR some credit. This is not just NASCAR's fault that this is a problem. The teams have made this an issue too.
Correct. Yep.
Teams such as Ryan Blaney's team throwing a fit over something that really obviously should not have been an issue. He should have been out of the race. I get that it was a minor impact, but they've never been able to come in and fix the steering.
Yeah.
You know, after being involved in an accident.
And going back even farther, these teams do not want to haul all this extra equipment.
No.
And have these wrecked race cars on the track. But also,
Josh Berry made half a lap last week.
Yes. And then he packed up one home.
Yeah.
And the other problem is the race car itself.
Yeah.
It's such a...
Well, exactly. The car, the fact that we can't put interliners in the tires, which, I mean, I would think it'd be pretty easy just to change the wheel size back, James, and have enough tire to put interliners, right? I mean, come on. Like,
shouldn't be that hard.
Do we need this big of a tire? Do we need, let's just add some tread and get the cars off the ground. And then, oh wait, we might fix another problem too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I know. I don't get it.
It's almost hard. And I know, I feel like at this point in this episode, like, I know we're bouncing all over the place with these issues, and it sucks. Like, it sucks that we have to go through all this, but this is where the conversation is at.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you and I are supposed to do.
NASCAR has dug a hole with this, with the help of the teams, and they are trying to dig out, and that's the problem. And they need to start over instead of trying to dig out of this hole.
You need new rules. You need new rules. You need a fresh slate. Hopefully
the old policy doesn't work with this car because they cannot roll when they have flat tires.
I tell you what, there's rules out there that have affected this championship run for this season, and I tell you what, we get to Phoenix and something happens, and something like this. If something like this affects the championship, just as the most extreme example,
at this point, it's going to.
Let's just say they all wreck.
I'm still waiting for the scenario where all four of the championship contenders wreck.
Because it can happen.
It can
happen. It can happen. They're all racing really hard. We saw a couple of them get wiped out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
When the Cuz was out there. So, man, yeah, I know that. I don't know. I've said this to you a million times, Eric. I can't fix it. I can't fix NASCAR, and I don't know how to have the conversation around fixing it anymore.
I have a question for you.
Because it's just frustrating.
Back, however many weeks ago at Michigan, we installed a new device on a bunch of these cars, gave the teams the option to install this device that lifts the cars up off the ground and allows them to drive back. Have you seen anybody benefit from that yet?
Somebody, I don't want to put this on the wrong team. Was it Joey Logano said he had it and it didn't work? Did that?
Well, I believe part of the issue is that it only lifts the back of the car up, which doesn't do anything for front flat tires and the inability to steer when your front tires are flat.
It probably makes it harder even then to drive because you're putting a lot of pressure on the front. So I don't know. The problem seems to be around the diffuser.
Yeah.
Well, Mark Martin fixed all this, Eric.
Yeah.
Get the bottom off the car and get rid of that diffuser.
Yeah. Problem solved.
Problem solved. Thank you, Mark.
Meanwhile, while we're at it, let's just go to the ARCA shops, take back all the old COTs and just put those back on the track.
Man, tell ya.
So I want to revisit the Daniel Suarez thing, and not because of the idiotic move that Daniel Suarez made, James.
That was so bad.
I want to revisit this because this was not the only time we saw a situation like this weekend. And I think, back to NASCAR officiating, it is time to look at the first lap pass through as a penalty as well. Because at least on super speedways, they are creating this issue where now somebody is desperately trying to drive themselves into the pack and not get run over and causing a wreck. I get that NASCAR, the way NASCAR does it, They do it all on fuel mileage and all this stuff so that they don't ever like when I worked at the racetrack, if somebody got the lucky dog, we just gave them a lap back in the computer. We didn't make them drive around the track to get their lap back. But NASCAR makes them drive around the track because of fuel mileage and all that. But why don't we just start them a lap down?
That would be fine.
Just start them a lap down. They're with the field. They're a lap down. Done. Problem solved.
Yeah, there you go.
What the pass through thing is silly, and I mean, I guess it creates a little storyline for TV to talk about. But it gives, especially at the super speedways, there's 6 times a year now where there's an incentive to drive up in the middle of a field and hope for a wreck. And Suarez got what he wanted. He just happened to be the one wrecking.
And I don't know what the team is thinking either. Like, Ross Chastain's not racing for anything right now.
Right.
Why not? You know what I mean?
Why not have? They were not full throttle. That whole field was saving fuel. He would have caught on to the end and just hung on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He would have been the first car lap down, and nobody else was going to lose a lap.
Instead, he went 2 laps down because he wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah, almost. Luckily, he didn't take out any other contenders with him at that point, because that would have been nasty.
Yeah. Can you imagine BJ McLeod? He's just driving along, and all of a sudden, this bonehead pulls up in front of him.
Yeah. Of all the part-time BJ McLeod. Didn't even do anything wrong.
Poor
was just
dude.
there.
What in the world?
Was just there, riding around. Hey, he got his 22nd place finish. He was all right.
Yeah.
He's fine with that.
Man, I think we covered just about everything in this race with that one discussion.
Well, the end of stage 2, I think we should mention.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because that wiped out Blaney.
Yep.
And now we've talked about
ruined his playoffs until it didn't.
Until the 28 car pileup.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of us in our fantasy league,
oh, God, we all had Blaney, I think, right?
Well, I think we all had Blaney in our lineup, but I would have made a swap at some point.
You couldn't though, because it was at the end of the stage.
I know it locked at the end of stage 2. So
I actually checked it. He wrecks, and it was coming to the checker. It's like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Yeah, because I would have swapped him for Todd Gilliland, which was only worth, I think, 9 points.
Yeah, I actually had Todd in, and I took him back out, and I forget who I had on my bench.
Oh my gosh! But regardless, like, can Ryan Blaney not get through a race without taking a massive hit?
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Every time he hits the wall the same way. This one wasn't as hard, thank God. But
yeah,
I thought Logano's day was done. That was a woof.
Alex Bowman, man.
Alex Bowman the showman. I don't think he did anything wrong there. I don't know.
I mean, he ran through him in the tri-oval.
He did. Well,
it's the worst spot to hit somebody that hard.
Blaney said it better than anybody. He wrecked the bleep out of me.
Yeah.
Poor Blaney, man. He's always getting wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't know whose interview was better, Blaney's or Josh Berry's.
Josh Berry's was pretty high level.
Berry's was really good.
Yeah, Berry's is pretty high level. But Blaney, man, I guess he's glad his teammates wrecked.
Right.
I don't know. That's rough.
Yeah, but yeah, ends up coming out okay with everybody else having trouble.
Yep.
He's what, 25 points to the good now, going in the one of his great tracks.
Yeah, he should be all right.
Yeah, that's pretty safe, I think, pretty comfortable.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. We had a 3 wide photo finish, James. But only the 3rd closest to the season.
Yeah.
Whatever, big deal. 3 wide. No, who cares? Yeah, 0.006, massive margin of victory.
Oh my God.
We're so freaking spoiled.
I know. That was a great finish, though.
It was a good finish. And the fact that they ran a green white checker without wrecking.
Did you laugh at Kyle Busch when he went up there and nobody went with him? Or were you just like, because that's what I did. I said,
Yeah, I didn't laugh at him. But yeah, it was like, I mean, if you watched, and I think Denny talked about it on his podcast this week, you watch the end of that race, nobody gets out of line. Because if you get out of line, what happens to Kyle Busch is what happens to you. So everybody's literally pushing until the tri-oval, and then you try to duck out if you can, which is what Byron did.
Well, and I think I give Kyle credit because that was his only chance. Yeah. Like, if I can get somebody to go with me, I'll go. But
yeah, I don't think he did anything wrong. He was
you have to try, especially when you're not in the playoff.
Yeah, he was like 6th or 8th at that point. He wasn't going to win.
Like
from there.
if you're William Byron, right, and you do that move, that's the other part of this too. Like William Byron and Kyle Larson are just thrilled to get the heck out of there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And William Byron advances, by
Yeah.
the way.
Byron's good
Gets
to go.
Byron doesn't have to worry about the Roval. He locked in. So, he tries that move and drops 20 points. That changes the playoff picture just a little bit, even though he's still in a good position.
Can you imagine being the only one locked in, going into the Roval with the uncertainty that is that new turn that they put in?
Oh, I know. That turn's going to be brutal.
There will be some wrecks there this weekend.
There's going to be some dudes getting punted.
Oh yeah.
But
which I think is the intent.
Right. Well, you look at Byron, so he's plus 74, Bell plus 57, Larson plus 52. Like you're good.
Those
like
guys
those guys
golden.
those guys are good. Have a good stage 1 and enjoy the rest of your day.
Even Denny 30 up is good.
Man, his fortune. I saw the difference between the 28 car pileup and where he finished, and
Yeah.
I tell you what, he went from 8 ahead or 8 behind.
Yeah.
To 30
Oh yeah,
up.
he was out looking in.
Yeah, and now he's in the round of 8. Like he's gonna probably be okay.
Yeah. Honestly,
Bowman's
I think
gonna be okay.
I think you're looking at Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick is the two that are in danger at this point.
Yeah, but who's gonna come get him?
That's the thing.
hard
I think
part.
they're only in danger if somebody wins.
Yeah, or like Suarez, I think has to win. Logano,
Logano's not going to gain enough points. Those two are both good here.
yeah. So is Joey
They're
though.
both good races.
Joey's-
Yeah, but he's got to gain points on them. That's the
the hard
thing.
part.
Joey doesn't have to finish well. Joey has to finish better than those guys. And if they're up front, if they're in the top 10, there's nothing he can do.
But if they play the strategy games, this is where I get. I don't know. I'm not excited about it, but it's intriguing to me. Like if Reddick and Elliott punt on stage 1 and just pit, and Logano wins it,
Yeah, but
it goes from 10 to 3.
those two are going. They're racing stage points.
Yeah,
they're racing
gonna
for
try to
points.
get the points.
Yeah, no way
just
they're
gonna get
racing for the win
points.
this weekend.
Exactly.
No.
Yep.
And not only that, James, but you have to consider that both AJ Allmendinger and Shane Van Gisbergen are in this race.
That's right.
So you are not only racing for the win, but you're racing for the win against those two with nothing to lose.
Those guys are going to be problems. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're not. There's no point in even if you're anywhere close. There's no point in racing for the win. You race for points this weekend.
Yep. I agree.
I like to do the look down the list of super speedway finishers like we often do. But
Yeah.
not a lot of surprises up there this time. You could maybe call Justin Haley in 7th place a surprise, but not really because Justin Haley's a good super speedway racer, and so is the 7 car.
Yep.
So that was a good finish. You got Cody Ware in 12th. I guess that one can be a surprise.
I'll throw Eric Jones in there only because that's the first top 5 for that team all season.
Yeah, that's true. I missed him up there, and not only that, but
And-
I mean he was good all day too.
I mean, he's a good speedway racer. Don't get
Yes.
me wrong, but the last time we were here, remember he broke his back
Yeah, that's right.
and shows back up and gets a top 5 finish. I think that's pretty. That's a pretty good story to get the heck out of there with a top 5 finish.
I want to give a lot of credit to Shane Van Gisbergen this weekend. He finishes 15th in this one, and I don't remember where he ended up in the Xfinity race. I'm pulling it up right now, but he ran well in he ended up 38th or 36th because he wrecked. But he ran really well in the Xfinity race too.
He was aggressive. He's
yeah.
aggressive.
Yeah, he impressed me a lot. I mean, again, it's a super speedway race, James. I think you and I could probably perform well there in the right circumstances.
Yeah, I don't have the stones, as they say.
That's true. Exactly. But same here, 100%. But still, aside from that, I think we could probably keep a car in somewhat contention. But still, very impressive to see, especially in the Cup race, to run up front.
Yeah.
During the day. I mean, he finished
he led the
fourth. He finished 4th in the second stage.
I think he has the fastest lap in the history of the next gen car. By the way,
Yeah, that's right. He
was the
does.
status.
You're right.
Yeah, didn't quite make it to 200 miles an hour. Pretty close.
Yeah, impressive. Anything else with this one? 4th win, right, for Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
4th win. Yep.
431
NASCAR,
Cup Series races.
Yeah, J-Ski says he's 101st all time, in a tie with many other 4-time winners.
There you go.
But he's one shy of Alan Kawicki. I thought was the interesting one. Alan Kawicki,
Yeah.
5-time winner, and Ross Chastain, last week's winner.
Better record this year than Kyle Busch.
Yeah, and he goes back-to-back seasons with a win.
Yeah.
He's only ever won on Talladega or Daytona.
Yeah.
Going back, how many years now? When was his first win? Oh my gosh, yeah. Remember that 2017 season?
Yeah.
He won a couple of races.
So, question for you.
Yeah.
Only ever won on super speedways, but he's won 4 times. Does that give him more of an edge? Does that say that there's more talent there than someone like, I don't know, like a Trevor Bayne or somebody like that?
He has staying power. That's the thing with Ricky.
Do you think if Ricky was in a better car, he'd be better?
I don't know.
Because you remember he was at Roush when Roush wasn't good.
He's never had more than 9 top 10s in a season total. So
But when has Ricky been in a competitive car in the Cup Series?
Well, last time he was in a competitive car, he was a champion in the Xfinity Series.
Right. He's never been in a competitive. He's never been in a top tier team in the Cup Series.
Never. No. He's only ever been with Roush and JTG.
Yeah.
Well, he did run for the Wood Brothers for a stint, a very short stint. Yeah, but that's it.
Again, top tier team.
Yeah. No, he's never been in a top tier team.
So by the time he got to Roush, they were on the downward spiral.
Maybe he's like the rich man's Corey LaJoie.
Yeah, I could see that.
How's that?
I mean, he's got to win. Corey doesn't. So
yeah, that's why I said he's.
That's good. That's a good.
When you're a little bit better than Corey LaJoie, I don't know what to do with him.
Ricky has had good runs at other tracks though too, just not consistently, and he doesn't get the finishes necessarily. But he's run well at Bristol. He's run well at Michigan before. He's run well at other tracks that are race tracks, not super speedways.
Yeah, he's got a good track record at Bristol and in a couple other places, but he's always just like you said, Eric, he's never been in a top tier ride. I mean, that Roush team he was with back in the day, that wasn't that team wasn't vying for wins very often. No. That was probably the low point for them. So
yeah, certainly by the time he left, it was the low point. It might not have quite been there yet when he got there, but I mean, it was pretty close. Yeah, I would probably argue if he was in a JGR car, I bet you he'd have at least double the wins he's got. Don't you think?
Yeah, that might be true.
I don't know if I'd go above 10. But I would say it at least probably double what he's got.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. Yeah,
I think that's fair. I like Eric Jones maybe.
Yeah.
When he was with JGR, like he I still think very highly of Eric Jones, although he's kind of in it with that team right now. But yeah, he was on a different trajectory and was winning a couple of races and actually was pretty quick. But yeah, Ricky's never been that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Be interesting to see him in a better ride once. But Carson Hocevar, highest finishing rookie in 14th. William Byron is your points leader, 17 points over Christopher Bell, and as we said, locked in for the round of 8. Only driver locked in for the round of 8 heading into the Roval. There you go. There's Talladega for the Cup Series.
All right. There you go.
Somehow we got through all that.
Wow.
Let's talk a little quicker about the other 2 series. NASCAR Xfinity Series, United Rentals 250. Sammy Smith, basement to the penthouse, James, gets the win from 12th in the points.
I love that.
Locks himself into the round of 8. Great run for Sammy Smith in this one, huh?
Yeah, that was good. Was kind of wondering if he was going to get the job done at some point this season. And there you go. There you have it.
Yep.
Mission accomplished.
Meanwhile, his teammate, Justin Allgaier.
Well, I thought you were talking about the other one.
Yeah. All over the place.
We'll talk about him in a minute. Go ahead.
Justin Allgaier is outside looking in right now. Where the heck? I'm trying to read this. I can't read the freaking writing on this thing. Jeez, I'm getting old. I don't know. Anyway, he's on the outside looking in. He's got to improve in this next race to get in, which I think he's struggled at the Roval before too, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's not. You know what? I'm going to find that out for you. Hold on. I can do this now. Thank you to Racing Reference.
There you go.
But Justin's had that season though, Eric, where it's like,
Yeah.
You know, it just hasn't been his year. It's been really weird.
He could have won about 6 more races at least, and he's taken himself out of all of them.
Yeah, that's for sure. Charlotte Road Course. Yeah. Not. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, he's got some top fives there. Why not?
Here's the problem, though.
A couple top fives there.
Here's the problem. Not only does he have to move up 1 spot, but I think he's going to have to move up 2.
Well, he's got the other guy chasing him from behind. Yeah.
You got Van Gisbergen back there, and Van Gisbergen is going to run a hell of a race and very potentially win this race.
That cutoff is going to be so much fun. And you're missing one. You're missing the other piece of this. He's in a sandwich.
Yeah.
Because he's got AJ there
Right?
too.
Yeah. How
So
good
he's
is this
gotta
race going to be from a championship standpoint?
He's got to outperform AJ and Shane Van Gisbergen. I tell you what, if he pulls this off, just give him the championship trophy because that would be astronomical.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough, man. Wow. That's tough. I don't know how he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Shane's going to be. Well, AJ is so good at this place. I don't know, but SVG.
Yeah, but Shane's never run here.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I don't think it matters when there's right hand turns.
No. I'm saying Shane's never run here, so we don't know how he's going to compete. I think he's going to be.
Well, yeah, I just think when there's a right hand turn involved, he's next level.
Unless somebody wrecks him in the Xfinity series on a road course, he's going to be top 2.
Yeah, he's got 3 wins this season. They're all road course races, so
yeah,
that's what he does. That's how he pays the bills.
Yeah. Not only does he have wins, but I mean he's had races where he shouldn't even had a chance to win, and he still came back and won. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's this one's a Shane Van Gisbergen win if he doesn't wreck, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You mentioned Sam Mayer. I don't remember what happened to Sam Mayer. What happened to Sam Mayer?
He got the.
Oh, that's right. He got DQ'd, didn't he?
He got the DQ.
Yeah.
What hasn't happened
right.
haven't had DQ in a minute. Yep. Not allowed to. Did not. He got the last place.
Yeah.
Last place finish. Yeah. This is tough. Yeah. Huh, indeed.
Yeah. What did he do? I guess I caught that he was DQ'd, and I didn't cut a chin.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta get well, you're putting me on the spot again. I gotta find the exact verbiage to why he got the DQ. I think his car was too low.
Yes, I think you're right. I think I did hear that now that you mention it.
Yeah, his car was too low. Let me see. Oh, JGR is appealing this though. So boy, we didn't do very good in the news prep on this one.
Yeah.
So JGR is appealing the disqualification, and he failed the post-race ride height requirement.
Gotcha.
Car was too low, and he finished 16th, now 38th.
So if he was in the Cup race, he'd have been okay because there's no ride height rule in the Cup Series. But
they are going to get the appeal done before this race this weekend.
Okay, interesting.
So they are expediting the appeal. So we shall see.
That makes sense though, and during the playoffs, you kind of got to do that.
Well, he would go from 1 point to 16th place. Let's just give me a round number. 16th in this race was 21 points. So let's just be generous and say a 20-point bump.
Yeah, I don't know if the standings that we have here in the notes either include that penalty or don't.
I think they do.
Okay.
I think they do. So a 20-point bump, that changes the playoff picture a little bit too. Let's just, again, not exact numbers here, but that's my guesstimation. So
interesting. Well, there you go.
Oh, that'd be interesting. We'll keep an eye on that for you.
Sammy Smith, second victory in 70 NASCAR Xfinity Series races. Jesse Love was the highest finishing rookie in 6th. And Chandler Smith is your points leader, 28 points over Austin Hill. Hill, who also was involved in a wreck in this one. Otherwise, he would
have won.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly, yeah. Kind of like Shane at a road course. Austin Hill just penciled in for the win if he doesn't wreck.
Yep, he always wins these places. Yep.
Yeah, so there you go. Truck Series was in action on Friday afternoon before most people were out of work.
If you don't nail the punchline on this, I'm going to be disappointed.
Oh, then you better go with it because I don't know what it is.
Oh, come on. Look who won the race. I give you that's my clue.
Grant Enfinger.
Grant Enfinger, and what was on the entry list before the race?
Oh, yeah, the Oldsmobile.
The Oldsmobile got the win.
That's right. I forgot about the Oldsmobile on the entry list. That's funny.
Oh man, we had fun with that over the messages this weekend.
Yes.
Well, actually, it was during the week when they posted the entry list. And
Right.
someone's like, "There's an Oldsmobile on the entry list." It was for Grant Enfinger.
I was so frustrated with this race, James, because with 6 laps to go in stage 1, Fox went to commercial. 6 laps to go in stage 1.
Are you surprised?
No, but God, does it piss me off when they do that stuff.
Oh man,
Their coverage is just so bad. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention with the Xfinity race real quick before we fully move to the trucks is there is nothing better than Jeff Burton in the booth for a race that has AJ Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, and Eric Almirola in it all at the same time. He had the names wrong 90% of the time on Saturday.
he's trying though.
It's so funny. Loved it.
He's doing better than Ward would do.
Oh yeah,
Give him
definitely.
that.
Definitely.
We'll give him that.
Yeah.
We'll give him that.
He could yell a little less, but otherwise I love Jeff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Grant Enfinger gets the win here, locks himself into the final 4 for the Truck Series. Good run for him. I don't really have anything else really to discuss with this one, unless you do. Like I said, the race was already a quarter of the way through before most people got out of work. So
Yeah, this was quick.
yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it for the Truck Series at Talladega. One other thing with the Xfinity race too, just to note, it was only 250 miles versus 300, which I thought was really interesting. Shorten that one up. This one, 225, man, this thing was over quick. I mean, it was really a fast race.
That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really, honestly, you just need the last 8 laps. That's really the only time people race anymore.
Yeah.
So let's see. Lane Riggs, highest finishing rookie, 28th in this one. Corey Heim as your points leader, 1 point over Christian Eckes.
Yeah, and Grant Enfinger locked into the championship 4 with that win.
Yep.
Because the Truck Series is coming down to the end here.
Yeah.
At Homestead and then Martinsville, and then they go to Phoenix for the championship. So they've only got left in the schedule this year. So the championship picture looking like we're gonna see Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, Grant Enfinger at least. The battle for that 4th spot could get interesting.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Just a heads up, you are clipping here and there. I'm not going to stop the podcast though, because it's all right. You just keep clipping in and out, which is possibly why you missed me mentioning twice that he locked into the final 4 with that win.
That's probably why. Yeah.
We'll blame it on that. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. If I'm I did notice I was having a little bit of a sound issue earlier. So that's probably what it was.
Yeah. Every once in a while you like clip out for a second, and when I go to say, "Oh, are you gone?" You pop back in. So we'll keep going. Who knows? It's probably Charter supposedly, or Spectrum upgraded my internet and for free, but it's not any faster. So
we have we had some outages out by us earlier today. So I wonder if I'm having a couple of issues there.
Yeah.
But no worries. We shall power on.
Who knows?
Yeah.
With that, let's talk news, James. We don't have a whole lot to talk about. Just the biggest story in the past several years in NASCAR. Of course, after we recorded last week, it was announced that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have filed an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR. We'll talk about it a little bit here. Obviously it's been beaten to death by everybody other than us. We're pretty much the last ones to get into it, so we're not going to add a whole lot to the conversation. I did want to kind of get our thoughts on it a little bit. The biggest thing is James and I, we discussed beforehand, we're not lawyers. We haven't seen, I mean, all we know about this is what we've been told. Obviously there's discussions about the contract, which none of us have seen what's actually in the contract. We have not heard NASCAR's opinion whatsoever because NASCAR has not answered. And they have, I think, 90 days or whatever to respond to this. So we aren't going to adjudicate it here. I certainly have my opinions on it, on who I think is in the right and who I think is in the wrong, but it's 100% opinion because, again, it's based on nothing, no facts whatsoever, but huge implications for the sport of NASCAR, and possibly beyond, because obviously this, depending on how it goes, could affect racing series across the country, right, James?
Yeah, it's Larson commented on that. Obviously, you and I talked a little bit beforehand, but Penske and the IndyCar series, they're going into a charter system.
Yep.
So, and too, Eric, I thought this was interesting. Bob did a really great job this week talking to different owners across NASCAR and got some pretty good insights. Obviously he talked to Michael Jordan.
Right.
Can we put him on first name basis?
MJ. We just call him MJ.
MJ.
We're down with MJ.
He talked to Brad. He talked to Richard Childress. I mean, he'd got a lot of quotes from these guys. And I saw Justin Marks even commented, like, a lot of them, in my opinion, are like, we like this, but we're just going to sit back and watch the show.
Oh, yeah, they can't lose, right? I mean, if anything, they're going to get a better deal out of it.
Exactly.
If nothing, then they're still on NASCAR's good side.
Yes, exactly. And some of what Denny has said was corroborated. Corroborated? Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Basically, that NASCAR did put a hard deadline on the team owners that seemed unreasonable.
Right.
And I did hear Denny say today that that because of that deadline really is what made him go, whoa, pump the brakes. I don't know. Again, Denny's got an agenda too, so we got to be careful. But
yeah, Denny was already super critical of NASCAR, and he's going to be incredibly more critical of NASCAR now going forward, which is frustrating. Yeah. But
it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to both sides. Well, I've listened to the one side,
NASCAR's
and I've listened to people defend NASCAR in this. And I don't know. It's tough, and it goes beyond even this situation, and just in general is like, what if you created the business? It's your business. You created it from the ground up. It's a family-owned business. It's only been owned by this family.
Yep.
Do you not have the right to run it how you want to and impose whatever terms you want to? And if other people don't like it, they can go somewhere else. The problem, obviously, with an antitrust is that they're arguing there's nowhere else to go. And which I get, but not. I mean, there are other racing series. No, there's not other racing series that race this car, but NASCAR developed this car. So of course NASCAR is going to protect their investment in this car.
It's NASCAR's parts and pieces now.
Exactly. So again, that's why I get really leery about giving too much opinion on it, because there's so much stuff that we don't know. And the other problem is that we're hearing from the other teams, but we're also hearing what the other teams want us to hear, because they're not going to speak out against NASCAR because they're being Switzerland right now. They may say what they want to say in private against NASCAR, but they're sure as hell not going to say it in public because they're not going to put a target on their back. So, and not only that, but apparently they signed a contract that says they can't do anything about it.
Right.
So, But again, we haven't seen the contract, so we don't know that for sure. But that's what's being said by Denny's side, is that in the contract it says you can't sue once you sign the contract. So
yeah, and I think that's why Denny was like, well, hold on.
Right. Which I can't blame him. I mean, I guess the thing is in the end, this could potentially be a good thing, because it could potentially lay the legal groundwork to say this is how this needs to be, and everybody ends up knowing where they are. I mean, that's the thing with our government. That's the thing with the US. It's the thing with where you can't define terms without legal means, and you can't do it without a lawsuit. The problem is that what does it do to the sport in the process? Does it hurt NASCAR? Does it hurt the teams? Does it hurt things? We don't know. There's no way to know.
Yeah. And, I want to go back to something that you said, Eric, and I think this is why I tend to lean on the side. I can't believe I've said this to you, but I can't believe that I'm kind of on Denny Hamlin's side here a little bit. But when you say, from NASCAR's perspective,
right,
this is a family business. This is what we do. This is ours to dictate what we want. I would say, like, if I'm Bob Jenkins, that's my argument too. This is my business. This is, I'm trying to do what's right and get the maximum earning potential for my business as well. This is my operation. And I heard Michael McDowell say a lot of what Front Row does is out of pocket. And he said the reason that they operate as efficiently as possible. He said the most efficient team in NASCAR. And he's a guy who's got one foot out the door, by the way, too.
Right.
So he doesn't have to stick up for Bob Jenkins or anything. But I just found that interesting that even a team like that who's having decent performance is still, I guess that you could say, operating at even to negative basis.
Right.
Which kind of reiterates something Dale Jr. has been saying for a long time. If you're going to race cars, you're going to lose money.
Yeah.
But I think what Denny's trying to do, Eric, is basically say, does it have to be that way? Do we have to continue to lose money as individual owners of these teams while we watch NASCAR continue to earn, the track continue to earn, all owned by NASCAR now, by the way.
Right.
Which TV networks are doing fine, right? So there's one partner that's not making the money,
right?
In their argument, right?
Well, and we don't know because we haven't seen NASCAR's books. We don't know.
And they'll never.
Maybe NASCAR's not making the money that we think that they're making. Maybe the tracks aren't making the money that we think that they're making. The other thing too is here. I don't know. Probably not, but I don't know. Yeah. I mean, NASCAR's discontinued things that they've owned. NASCAR has cut places too, James. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
You're right. They have. Yeah, I agree with you there.
There's also a lot of expenses with what they're doing when you're paving racetracks and renewing racetracks and building new grandstands and all that stuff comes from somewhere. So I don't know. It's hard to say. The other thing too to keep in mind is that a lot of this depends on what kind of jury you get if it gets to that point too, because you're not creating a case for the diehard NASCAR fan that understands how all this works. You're creating the case for the person that's going to sit on the jury, where you can say, NASCAR just bought up all these tracks. Obviously, but they didn't buy up all the tracks. They already own the tracks, kind of. It just was a public company, and they brought it in house. They bought up the ARCA series, this potential competing series, but it wasn't really a competing series. There's no way it was ever going to compete with NASCAR, but the average person doesn't know that, Right. So I feel like depending on the jury you get, you don't have to build as solid of a case necessarily to make it look like NASCAR is. I mean, when I listened to the interview on SiriusXM with Dave Moody, which not thanks to SiriusXM, who apparently removed it.
Disappeared. Which disappeared for a while.
But thanks to Matt Weaver, who posted it. And from what it sounded like it's back. I don't know. But anyway, that was one point where I was listening to it and I'm like, maybe these guys have a point because when you look at how NASCAR has scrolled all this stuff together and brought it all under one umbrella, then you can see the argument of it's a monopoly. But then again, it's like, I don't know. It's so tough. Well, I'm so glad I'm not on the jury. I'm so glad I'm not one of the attorneys.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think one part that hasn't been talked about this week that I at least I haven't seen it, but we know that it's in the air, is NASCAR's trying to put together I'm not sure what to call it, like a marketing plan for the drivers where NASCAR would handle like all these appearances and marketing. So it's almost to another thing that NASCAR is trying to have ownership stake in is the individual drivers themselves. So you're like, how many things can one side of the coin have versus the other side that provides, provides the talent and the machine and the machinery and the entertainment part of it too. You know what I mean? So it's less of a partnership than it is and I should say NASCAR's kind of always been this way. Like you said earlier, like go somewhere else if you don't like it. But NASCAR owns everything else. They bought ARCA.
Yeah.
There's no other stock car racing series to go to.
They don't own IndyCar, but they're going to need charters to go over there pretty soon too. So, and I mentioned, the far-reaching effects that this could have. The thing that the series that I think of when I hear about all this is Supercross, AMA Supercross, because you're talking about an organization that's owned by Feld Motorsports, who also owns every arena that they race in. Those teams historically make nothing from the series. Most of the money that the riders are paid is through contracts with the manufacturers of the bikes that they ride. They just brought in their outdoor series all under one umbrella. So yeah, I'm sure, I would imagine they're looking at this too. I mean, there's a lot of, if they determine that NASCAR is a monopoly, there are a lot of other monopolies that are going to pop up around.
Well, and that's the kicker. Like, you see Penske doing the same thing in IndyCar.
Why
like,
would you
even
do that? Why would you follow the same path right now?
And they do a lot of street circuits and things too, so it's a
Yeah.
little bit different. But it is whatever this ends up being, whether they settle or this does go to court. I again take my many years of legal expertise for what they are. I cannot imagine NASCAR lets this go to trial. I think NASCAR will.
What are they going to do,
a
though?
little bit. I don't
Because they
know.
have to give the deal to
don't
everybody.
know.
They can't just give a better deal to these two teams. And I guess what it comes down to is what is 2311 and Front Row looking for? What is their end goal? Is it to get the charters to be permanent? Is it to get a bigger I mean, what is going to make them happy?
When you say make the charters permanent, I think that's it, but I think they're going to call it franchise. This is our franchise.
But they want more than that, though, because they want their cut of the pie, too.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
Well, and if you're looking at other sports, and maybe that's the example, like the NFL, it's hard to compare, right? That's a behemoth, pretty much owned by the owners for the most part, but the owners of each individual team, those are the guys who are they get all the money.
Yeah.
The players get paid pretty well too, but the owners get the money.
Well, and that's one argument that what Larson said this week, that one got me. And I'm like, that's a good point. Is if you look at sports in general, how many sports are the athletes getting paid less than what they used to get paid?
It doesn't happen.
Very few,
that does not happen.
Except for NASCAR. And we know for a fact that drivers are getting paid less because that's why Kyle Busch is in the situation he's in.
Yep.
So, I mean,
the era of, God, Eric, I remember, and when he said that, I remember a conversation you and I had, and I don't remember if it was on this podcast or if it was just us BSing at some point, but I remember watching something with William Byron, and it was obvious that dude's living in an apartment or a condo. He's not living like Kevin Harvick is.
It was probably during the pandemic when we were watching them race from their living rooms.
Probably is what it was. Now I'm sure he's doing a little bit better now.
Right.
But still, that was a few years into his Cup career, and he was obviously not living in Ricky Bobby's house.
Yeah.
Hey,
so Sheldon Creed's racing for free this year.
That's what he said.
So, I mean,
we've had a lot of drivers do that though. A lot of drivers have raced
and that's the thing too. Like all this discussion is over the Cup Series. What about the other two series or three series? Because you got ARCA too.
Yep.
Where are they at with their? I mean, they don't have charters. They don't have any of this stuff. Is there?
They don't have any of it. Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you think that this becomes a distraction? Do you think this interferes with the next couple of seasons? Because we're talking probably a couple of years if it goes to trial and everything.
Well, I do think that for the foreseeable future, whatever charter agreement is signed or in place, there's going to be an injunction on that, right?
Well, they've asked for one. And basically 2311 has said that if they don't get that injunction, they'll race as an open team, but they'll lose a ton of money doing that. But according to Denny, Michael Jordan has said that none of the team members will suffer any financial hardship as a result of that. So
yeah, that team has the backing. They can, that team can, that's the one team. And that's the other part of this I think is kind of interesting. They're the only team that could do this.
Yeah.
I don't even think Hendrick Motorsports can do this. And I know Hendrick's got decent, funding around him, but it ain't Michael Jordan level funding.
Right.
And I know Rick's done well and Joe Gibbs has done well, but
no, they don't get MJ money.
Gibbs is a family operation, man. That's not MJ.
So how is Front Row Motorsports doing it? He owns Long John Silver.
Well,
does he have Elon Musk on the?
I can't imagine that they do. Front Row is I think in a little bit of a sticky situation with that, but I
would assume that their attorney is probably pro bono, getting a slice of the pie in the end.
Oh yeah,
he's probably doing the work for free.
Oh yeah.
But
this is a high profile case, and that attorney that they got, he's high profile.
Business.
He's the best in the business. He's negotiated some deals, man.
He's won some stuff, right?
He's won some stuff. NIL was one of his
Yeah.
deals, I think, and women's soccer. I mean, that was a big one. That was a big lawsuit.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I immediately when this was announced, I'm like, well, there goes Denny Hamlin's championship. There goes 2311 in the championship. But NASCAR can't do that. I mean,
No.
it'll be so obvious if suddenly they start ruling against these teams. They'll be under such a microscope that there's just no way they can do that.
No, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. I mean, what's happened is going to happen regardless.
Yeah.
So Denny's going to show up to the racetrack and he's going to race.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't expect anything less. He's a professional.
How fitting would it be to have Tyler Reddick win the championship this year and have Jim
Or
France
Denny.
have to? I think having Tyler Reddick do it would even be bigger though, because it's his team. Denny's at least a Joe
Well,
Gibbs Racing driver. To have to hand the trophy, have Jim France hand the trophy to 2311.
You say that, but I saw a picture from Adam Stern, and I'm going to find it right now. I got it right now. There's a picture, and it's NASCAR President Steve Phelps having a candid conversation with 2311 co-owner Curtis Polk at Talladega
Interesting.
on Sunday. So I don't know. I'm going to retweet it right now so that it's on my feed. So how contentious is it? I don't know.
I don't know.
I really don't know. We're going to find out. Bob Jenkins, though, kudos to him. He got the photo op with MJ.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be on
Right.
MJ's
Yeah,
side?
why not?
Yeah. Why-
MJ, man,
I-
he's been doing the interviews. Bianchi talked to him. Pockers talked to him.
I tell you, I go back to what I said. Having that guy in our sport is a blessing, and I know it doesn't seem like it right now because a lot of cages are being rattled, but man, I love it.
Last point I want to discuss on this, James, is Larry McReynolds made a comment
God.
on Twitter this week that
Mac.
essentially the new guys on the block and the team that couldn't compete suddenly want their piece of the pie, and implying that they're in the wrong for bringing this, that it should have been, if anybody of the other teams,
What
and
a
that
load
if
of
the other
crap.
teams are happy, then they should be happy.
What a load of crap. I'm sorry, man. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad. Let me tell you why. Because Hendrick Motorsports is doing just fine. They're doing just fine, right?
Right.
You know who hasn't been doing just fine? A lot of people who have stuck around for a while. Jack Roush had to kind of be saved by Brad Keselowski a little bit and restructure. Do you remember Furniture Row Racing? They won a championship. They
Right.
had some pretty good clout in the sport. They were gone within a year of winning a championship. Stewart Haas Racing, kind of a powerhouse, right? Disbanded, falling apart at the seams, gone. I mean, there's a lot of examples of teams that have had power and had some staying power that are gone.
Is that new though?
No, it's not new. It's not. Teams come and go.
Yeah. So why is it different now?
For me to talking about Larry Mack,
No, why is it worthy of a lawsuit now if it's been this way all along?
because nobody has ever come into the sport swinging a hammer like MJ. Nobody has that.
But Larry says he doesn't have the right to. He hasn't been here long enough. He
That's
hasn't
a
earned
load
the
of
right.
crap.
He hasn't earned the right to do it.
When Michael Jordan came into the sport, invested in the sport,
There you go.
got
There's
charters.
where I was trying to get you to go.
That's where you wanted me to go.
MJ
When
spent the
he-
money. He's here.
He bought the charters. His charter, and that's where I should have started. But Michael's charter, however many charters he wants, right?
Right.
Up to 4. His
3, 4. We
single
don't know. Right.
Yeah,
Could
his
just be 3.
single. Yeah, it could be 3. But any single one of his charters is just as good as any single one of Rick Hendrick's charters. They mean the same thing when you're looking at it on paper. That is a charter for a charter agreement that pays these teams for showing up week in and week out. And that means they get all the same benefits as anybody else. So going into this negotiation, I don't care who it is. If you've got a charter, Bob Jenkins included, you hold that right to be on the same level as anybody else. You are in the room with the big dogs. Just because you're going to rattle it a little bit and you're going to, like I said, swing the hammer around a little bit, good for you. He has that right. He's part of the club. Anybody else could do it.
Right.
Nobody else did.
All right, I'll give you that. I was on Larry's side when he tweeted it. I've since softened, and
That's a horrible take by him. I think
so,
it's terrible.
So what's a worse take? Is it a worse take to say that MJ hasn't earned the right to do this, or is it a worse take to say 2311 should have waited a week to file the lawsuit because there was a hurricane in North Carolina?
Oh, you're boxing me in, dude.
Because Ryan McGee really took some beating this week.
You, man, I want to defend McGee because I understand where he's coming from because it's pretty rough.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, people have to understand that, and I'm from the same aspect because I've loved this sport my entire life, and I have been a diehard NASCAR fan my entire life. Like, I've cheered for other sports, I've cheered for other racing leagues, but I've never been as attached to a sport as this one, and it's personal. It feels personal. I don't think it really is, and I think the more you look at it from the outside and you start to see the details, you realize it's not really personal. It is a business thing, but you take it personally. I think that's what Ryan did. And he probably regrets writing an entire article about it.
Yep.
But I'm sure if he's looking for page views on ESPN, he definitely got them.
Yeah. I don't know if that was his point though. That's never been Ryan's game. You know what I mean?
No, I know.
He's not a clickbait guy.
No, I don't think that's what he was going for either. I think it really is personal. I think to him,
it
was it's like getting kicked in the nuts, man. It's your sport. He loves the sport, and the sport took a shot and he wanted to defend it. And
I think too, he loves North Carolina.
Yeah,
that's his home.
Oh yeah.
And I know for a fact a lot of people from North Carolina, we've seen it.
Oh yeah.
Like the Eric Church, Luke Combs, like those guys. Like I heard Eric Church, the musician Eric Church, I heard him say that North Carolina is in his blood.
Right.
And he wants to do everything he can to help these people and raise awareness, raise money, trying to help people. We've seen some really great things come from this.
Yeah. How about Greg Biffle, man? Greg Biffle's been flying.
Yeah,
people
that's
out,
where I was. Yeah, that's where I was going.
Place.
He's a hero.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
And I think that's where Ryan was coming from. He was defending I think he's trying to defend his home.
Yeah.
Not so much taking a shot at 2311 so much, but
right. Well, I honestly don't think he was taking a shot at 2311. Period. I think he was taking a shot at 2311's attorney.
Yeah.
But
the timing does. I mean, the timing does suck, but I understand that from their point of view too. They got to do it.
Well, you got to file it.
Yeah, you got to file it. So yeah, I understand the hurt though that goes into. There's bigger things in the world that are going on, but
right.
One thing I wanted to add to this before we close the door on it. You got to remember one more thing about Michael Jordan and how he's operated for, gosh, I'm thinking, when did he get into NBA team ownership? 24 years ago?
Yeah, I just looked it up, but I don't remember now.
Yeah, he was an owner with the Wizards, and then he owned the Charlotte Hornets forever before getting out of the majority. He still owns part of it, but he's, minority owner now. Nobody else has owned a professional sports team in that sense. And he just cashed out so big from that. And I wonder if that experience, all those years in ownership, I wonder if that triggers some of this as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, we're seeing how revenue sharing works for NBA team owners as an example. Why can't the business model look more like that? It doesn't have to be dollar for dollar the same type of thing. You can never do that.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're gonna create change, you negotiate and you sue. That's how you do it. And
somebody's got to do it. If it has to be done, somebody has to do it.
Yep. So I hope it doesn't become an interference or a distraction. I feel like it probably won't. I think NASCAR is going to do its thing, and
everybody's a professional here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right, and that's our news for the week.
Good stuff.
Checkered Flags, James. Since we already talked about it, I just wanted to give a big checkered flag or a big shout out to everybody who's been affected by the hurricane out in North Carolina. All the people helping out. Greg Biffle definitely was on my radar of somebody to mention, but
that was mine this week.
So many others, drivers, teams, NASCAR officials, everybody's, going to the track and then going and putting the work in out there. I mean, honestly, if you really wanted to go after somebody for the bad timing, I mean, I could have certainly seen a place. It'd been tough to do, but I could certainly see a place where NASCAR would have postponed a race or something to help to be able to focus efforts on North Carolina if they wanted to, but they decided to continue on, which I'm fine with as well. But yeah, I mean, shops are being places to drop off goods and all that stuff. And then of course we've got Milton coming in too into Florida that could be pretty bad too. So
did you see that meteorologist who was who got a updated report on the data that was coming in from Milton and started crying on air?
No, but I heard about it.
Yeah, he knew that it was. He's like, this is unprecedented weather that we're having now,
and it's supposed to come in when the tide's up, and just it's worst case scenario. So hopefully it doesn't.
People are going to get hurt and worse. People are going to get hurt and worse. Yeah. That's the hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Especially with that area that was just hit. It's tough to talk about. Like I mean, I keep an eye on Twitter during the podcast just to see if any breaking news happens, and my feed is all it's all Milton right now.
Well, I think that's why we haven't had the news this week too, is between the lawsuit and the fact that everybody's too busy to generate news.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw how many big rigs coming into North Wilkesboro because it was a distribution center just trying to help. And
Talladega was taking drop-offs leading up to the race.
I see Darlington
I was just going to say that.
Yep. Darlington setting themselves up as a relief center for Milton.
Yep.
But Greg,
I believe Atlanta opened campgrounds too.
Yep.
If I remember correctly.
Atlanta's I think in the safe zone.
There you go.
Safe zone 1 or whatever the heck it's called. Safe zone A. Is it A and B? They have. I mean, I tell you, Eric, there's times in my life where I've wanted to be in warmer places. I don't take Michigan for granted.
No,
we just do not.
We're very lucky.
We're very lucky. Outside of a cornfield catching on fire, which happened by us this week, we're doing okay. So we have these lakes to protect us sometimes, which comes in handy. But man, oh man, I feel for people who, there's people that I'm sure some of us know, but they save their whole lives for retirement to move down to places like Florida to enjoy, and they may not have insurance or something, and this is it. Like, this is going to crush them.
Yeah. I mean, the people with houses in North Carolina that literally washed away down the rivers. It's just insane.
Roads gone.
Yeah.
And even if your house is there, town down the street's gone and you have no grocery stores or you can't get gas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the work that Greg Biffle's doing, which is just, I will not, I've picked on Greg Biffle enough for some of his past shenanigans. I will not pick on that man again.
No. Yeah.
He's earned my respect.
Yes, definitely.
What a legend. And I think, did Marty Smith say he should get the, what is it? Medal of Freedom? Something like that. Anyway, he should be, anyway.
Yeah.
Just for being a good American. I was like, he is a pretty good American. On his own. Pretty cool.
One other shout out from the race this weekend. I wanted to shout out Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on his climbing ability. Definitely, that
was great.
Definitely put Tony Stewart to shame. remember Tony trying to climb that fence at Daytona? It looked like a lot of work.
He did it a couple of times.
Stenhouse made it look pretty easy.
And then Ricky slid down the stairs, which is incredible. Tony had maybe twice as much weight as Ricky, though.
Yeah,
Ricky,
maybe
Ricky's
more
than
than
that.
Fit
guy. Yeah, Ricky's a pretty fit guy.
Yeah, Tony was I think he had the Burger King sponsorship back then, didn't he?
One of the times, yeah.
Yeah.
He did climb the pole with the or climb the fence with the Home Depot scheme a
Yeah.
couple of times too.
Well, I remember Home Depot with the ad about Tony, we sell ladders. That was good.
Yeah, that
after Daytona.
yeah.
That's a good one. So, good stuff.
Speaking of Tony, did you see he won another championship?
I kind of caught a glimpse of it, but I didn't see what he won. But I
Top
saw
alcohol dragster, like North Central Championship or something like that.
Nice.
Just adding to the resume.
Yeah.
Add another one.
Good for him.
Yep. He's living
Uh,
his best life, man.
you said the hurricane stuff was your shout out too.
Yeah, Greg Biffle. Yeah, so we covered that.
All right.
Yep. That was my shout out this week.
Any black flags this week, James?
Boy, it's hard to hand out black flags after what we did to NASCAR in this episode.
I got one.
I have one, but I don't want to say it because it's too fresh.
Oh, okay.
Let's just say a very popular podcast network hired somebody that I don't like very much.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
All right. That's good.
And he's in my feed. He's in my feed a lot right now.
James, my black flag is for somebody who blocked me on Twitter.
Oh, yes. I forgot about this. Yes.
I got blocked this week. So, speaking of the hurricane efforts, and somebody who was actually shouting out Greg Biffle, so I'll give him credit for that. Max Pappas decided to share. I won't go into details because I don't want to get into politics on this podcast, but decided to share some not so factual information to help push his agenda. And all I did is reply to his tweet and say, how about don't use a natural disaster or don't use an emergency to push your agenda? And I got a nasty gram back and blocked from Max Pappas on Twitter. So there you go. Max Pappas, black flag.
I want to see. Now you might have to help me out here. Max Pappas has 87,000 followers. How many followers does
Paul Tracy?
I can't. Yeah, how many does Paul Tracy have? I can't see Paul Tracy.
Hold on, let me look. See, that was the nice thing is I have 2 Twitter accounts, so I could immediately go to my other Twitter account and see what Max Pappas. Because what happened is I got the notification that he replied to me, and then I forgot about it. And then like a day or two later, I'm like, you know what? I want to see what he said. And I went back and I'm like, his notification's not in here. What's up with that? Why is his note? And I'm like, I bet you he blocked me. So I went to his profile, and sure enough.
Yep. That's exactly what happened to me. I got the same thing with Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy 3 has 36,800 followers.
You win.
How many does Max have?
87.
Nice.
Not even close. Not even close. So add that to our Twitter list of famous people who we've interacted with.
Yeah. The best part is that, and I'm sure you're in the same situation, is that I have absolutely no reason to ever look at his profile. So there's no loss to me whatsoever to be blocked. I think it's awesome and hilarious.
Why is it that we both got blocked by people who I'm fairly certain are voting the same way in the election? I don't know why that is.
I mean, it's probably because it's, kind of common.
Is it because they believe the same thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene does, that other people can control the weather?
Oh my gosh, let's move on, James. How did?
All right, sorry, my bad. My bad.
All right.
You didn't know quite where I was going with that one, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
There.
I could go all day on that one too, but we will leave that to another podcast.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Charlotte Roval this weekend, James. We're heading to the Roval. NASCAR Cup Series and NASCAR Xfinity Series in action this weekend. Bank of America 400 on Sunday, 2 p.m. on NBC. NASCAR Xfinity Series has the Drive for the Cure 250 presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Saturday at 4 p.m. on CW. Truck Series is off this weekend. They'll be back at Homestead. We've got some track changes. As we mentioned earlier, the front stretch chicane is tighter. And then the completely new section coming from the infield into NASCAR Turn 1. I think it's Turn 7 area is where it is on the track, but I can't keep track of it.
Yes.
Going to be a hairpin there. I think it's pretty much designed specifically to allow people to dive bomb and create chaos. So I'm all for it. I'm a fan. I'm excited about that. And And I know a lot of people aren't happy about the Roval and want to get off the Roval, but I like the Roval still. I'm still excited about it. So looking forward
It's
to this
hard
weekend.
when the intermediate racing has been good, but that's okay.
Yeah, but we've got enough intermediate races. I'm good with.
Yep.
It's the only Roval we go to now. Now that we got rid of Indy,
Yep.
it's the only one we go to. Let's have this one race and we're good. All the NASCAR teams are irritated because it's in Charlotte and they would rather race on the oval in Charlotte because it's their home track. But whatever. Screw those guys. Picks for this weekend, James. I get first pick. So I'm just gonna make it nice and easy, and I'm going SVG as my pick in this one.
SVG. Very nice. Couple of guys I considered. Chase, Byron, AJ.
AJ won last year.
AJ won last year.
Doesn't have to race for points.
I'm gonna go for a guy who, well, it's between two guys. One of them, I'm gonna say this. I'm not picking Joey Logano, but boy, he leads the series in top 10 finishes at the Roval all time. By the way, 5
Nice.
of 6. Yeah.
I have one for you that you'll never guess would be a good pick, but go ahead and do yours first.
Oh, you want me to guess? Were you
What?
gonna say Brad Keselowski?
Nope.
Were you gonna say Kyle Busch?
Nope. Nope, but I have heard a couple people say that he's going to win this weekend, Kyle Busch, but no.
Hopefully.
Somebody else. Somebody else that will
No.
shock you.
I'm not gonna go AJ. I'm gonna go Tyler Reddick.
That's a good pick.
I'm gonna go Tyler Reddick.
I was
Got a
going
good history here.
I was going with his teammate.
Bub.
Not a joke either, because Bubba was really good in this race last year, but had to race for points. So he
Yep.
gave up the win.
Yep.
Could very well be run well here.
I
Now,
don't know what to
go ahead.
do with. Well, he is in the same. So I'm looking at the stats. I like that because, like you said, recent success is very good.
Yeah.
Also the same thing. Like overall success, not great. Chase Briscoe,
Yeah.
pretty solid here.
See, the reason
So,
I think Bubba's a good
curious.
choice this weekend is because, again, not racing for points this weekend. He can go for the win.
Yep.
He doesn't need to try and stay in.
I think Chase Briscoe's in that same boat.
Yeah,
I think
you're probably right.
I think you just race for the win.
That's true.
Same with Daniel Suarez. I think you just race for the win too.
Again, though,
That's-
man, you got to race two guys for the win.
It's
that
hard.
are going to be there.
Yeah.
You know they're going to
SVG
be there.
is no starts here, by the way. No starts.
Yeah, but that
So-
don't matter. He had no starts at the freaking Chicago Road Street Course.
Yeah, no kidding. I know. Oh, yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
I don't put any stock in that. And listen, I'm the guy who was saying way back that Shane Van Gisbergen isn't as good as everybody says compared to these guys.
I
but,
did it too.
But this is the Roval that's new this year. Not only that, but there's one other factor that we didn't talk about, and that's the aero package on these cars is completely different.
Yeah.
And that means on the banking, they're going to run like crap
Yeah.
because they don't have the downforce that they have on a 1.5-mile track.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
I'm excited for it. What I'm not excited about is talking about the Fantasy League because that was a disaster.
Oh, my God. Do I have to talk about that?
Nobody did
Man.
well.
I know, but I lost ground and
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah, you did.
It's not good.
Still got 5 races.
Yeah, I got to make up
got
70
time.
points now. I know, I was doing
That's easy. 70 points, no problem.
I was doing so good, man. I was doing so good.
One more
our
wild
winner-
card, and then it's all your golden the rest of the way.
Right. So our winner was Shut Up Roger.
There you go.
Haven't
Good
seen
job,
him in
Roger.
a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smoking Grill Racing and Hendrick Flair. Watermelon James beat me for the first time in I think 12 weeks. So that's good. Eric, you were
Don't even talk about it.
holy crap, you were worse than me?
Yeah, I was bad.
I was bad. I finished 11th. Grannings and Hamlin did finish ahead of me. So I give up my playoff lead, I think. Yes, Smoking Grill Racing's got the playoff lead. I'm right behind him. Overall standings, Green Eggs and Hamlin up 73 points on me, and Team Justin is third.
There you go.
Team Justin is it's not insurmountable. He's almost 300 points behind Green Eggs and Hamlin though, so that's tough. So there you go.
Stupid fantasy.
Stupid fantasy.
I watched live this weekend.
Man, I was doing so good. I was chipping away at it.
Yeah. I was all excited about my picks. I put like lots of thought into my picks. And then
I
they
was doing
all
so
freaking
good.
wrecked.
I know. I was doing so good. I had such a good day going.
Uh,
All I had to do was keep it close. I didn't want to lose by that many, so that's okay.
well, there you go. James, where can people find you on social media if they want to hit you up during the week?
at James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at T-Superspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio. Wherever you found us today, please subscribe and continue to listen for new episodes each and every week. We head to the Charlotte Roval this weekend, the Bank of America Roval 400 on Sunday, Xfinity Series on Saturday. We'll be back next week to break it all down and continue on in the playoffs. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.